Okay, guys, we're officially live. Welcome to the first webinar of the year. And so maybe we'll just go around first. Everyone can introduce themselves, say their name, their school, and how they decided to go to the school that they're at. So, Rahel, you want to start?
Sure. My name is Raquel. I go to Florida International University, and I personally chose it because I love the weather and I live at home, so I didn't really want to leave.
Okay, awesome. Who's next?
I'll go, I guess. I'm Shlomit Mouskopf. I'm going to McMaster University, and I picked it just because I really like the program there, honestly.
That's great. What's the program that you're in?
It's biotechnology.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Jonathan, you want to go?
Sure. I'm Jonathan. I go to Dartmouth College. When I was applying to colleges, one of the upperclassmen that I was close to told me that I should apply here, and I figured why not? And it turned out to be one of the few places that I got into and the best place I got into. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And Daniel?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm Daniel Sezanoff. I go to Arizona State University, study industrial engineering, and the reason I chose it is because it's the cheapest, really, for me.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everyone watching, and if anyone's watching at home, I know a few of you are. There's on a live YouTube stream, so welcome to you as well. So I just want to, by way of introduction, we've had a few different kinds of cohorts over the years. What makes this cohort probably the most exciting is that it's new in that it's only for freshmen. So all of you are kind of going through the same experiences together this year. So that's something that we're really excited about. So I think just to start off, we're going to go around and maybe in the same order that everyone introduced themselves in. Just maybe answer and tell us a little bit about what was the best Jewish event that you've been a part of so far this year. It could be anything, Friday night dinner, Kabbalah Shabbat, Random Tuesday, something, whatever, anything. So maybe Rachel, we'll start with you again.
Okay, so it wasn't really a Chabad program, but there's a program at FIU, and it's called Yehudi. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's like a new program. And for their opening night, it was like a hookah and something night, like hookah and sushi or something like that, and it was like 150 people, which is like a lot, because Chabad gets like 50 tops.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay. Cool. Right. Hookah and sushi. Those are like two best things. So. Okay. Cool. Shlomit.
It wasn't really an event, but one Shabbos afternoon, just all the frum kids at the university just kind of hung out together at some random person's house, and there was snacks, and it was really chill, and it was nice.
Cool. How many people? Was it an official thing or it just happened?
No, it kind of just happened. It was 10, 15 people, not a lot of people.
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes the best things are just completely chilled out, not expecting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Jonathan?
Well, yeah, for me, it's not really an event either because there really hasn't been it was just on Shabbos day. Friday night dinner gets a lot of people. Shabbos lunch gets no one besides me, pretty much. So it's nice to sort of just have that small family, just know the rabbi and only a little bit.
Wow. Okay. So for Shabbos lunch, it's just you with the Chabad, or?
Yeah, it's pretty much just me and him and his family. Sometimes there's one or two more people that show up, but consistently it's just been there. Do
any graduate students come, or is it just undergrad?
I think all the graduate students have graduated. So
okay, I happens to be that I know someone in the medical school there, but I don't know. We can talk about that more later. Okay, and Daniel, do you want to go?
Probably the best event that I've gone to so far is a Friday night dinner. It was tailgate themed, and they had really good food, and there were about, I'd say, 60 people there.
Wow. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so it's interesting. So, wow. Okay, kind of like a mix of events, but all right, there haven't been so many things that have happened this year so far. It's only been a month, I guess, at most for all of you. So, okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so now if you guys got the source sheet, Daniel, do you mind muting yourself?
Huh?
Do you mind muting yourself?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. Yeah. Just like the background noise is hard to kind of concentrate.
Oh, I have a lot of people at my house like coming over real soon.
Okay.
I have
Okay, I could just mute you, but if I mute you, then you can't. I can't unmute you for the rest of the time. That's the only thing.
Is the background noise like that like loud right now?
Just like a little bit, but right now it's not so bad. So maybe hopefully it'll stay like this.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, so hopefully you guys got the source sheet that I sent out on the email. If not, I'm just going to send you the link in the chat on the side. So if you could just open it up. And so really the way the webinars are going to work is that we're going to start off, probably the first half of it will be like kind of like a source-based discussion. And that will be somewhat related to the second half, which will be a more practical discussion of how to relate the lessons of the first sources to life on campus. So hopefully you will have your sources open now. Does someone want to volunteer to read the first source? English or Hebrew? Shlomi, do you want to maybe give it a shot?
Sure, yeah, okay. I'll read in English. Jethro, priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard all that God had done for Moses and for Israel his people, how the Lord had brought Israel out from Egypt. He sent word to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and your 2 sons. Moses went out to meet his father-in-law. He bowed low and kissed him. Each asked after the other's welfare, and they went into the tent. Next day, Moses sat as a magistrate among the people, while the people stood about Moses from morning until evening. But when Moses' father-in-law saw how much he had to do for the people, he said, What is this thing that you are doing to the people? Why do you act alone while all the people stand about you from morning until evening? Moses replied to his father-in-law, It is because the people have come to me to inquire of God. When they have a dispute, it comes before me, and I decide between one person and another, and I make known the laws and teachings of God. But Moses' father-in-law said to him, The thing you are doing is not right. You will surely wear yourself out, and these people as well, for the task is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone. Moses heeded his father-in-law and did just as he has said.
Okay, great. Thank you. So it's a little bit of a famous scene. Kind of Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, comes to visit him while they're encamped in the desert, and Moshe is doing the awesome things that Moshe has always done, and he decided to take it upon himself to be the sole judge of all the Jewish people, and that if anyone needed to decide anything, he'd be the one that everyone would come to. So out of the hundreds of thousands of Jews, millions of Jews really, they would all come to him if they had a problem. So it's kind of crazy. And the second Yitro came, the Torah tells us that he said to Moshe, you can't do this. This is like insane. You're going to be too tired. It's impossible for you to do this, especially like long term. There's no way, for the next 100 years, who's going to go after you? It doesn't make any sense. So you have to change the system. And so Yitro, as this newcomer to the community, he kind of gives this whole new way of judging the Jewish people. And Moshe actually says, you know what? I'm going to do that. So he does it, and so the Torah goes on to say how great it was. It's actually re-mentioned again later on in the Torah as being the best way to judge the Jewish people, to kind of have this system of you have like the highest court and then lower courts, a little bit similar to the way the American justice system works in terms of the Supreme Court, and then you have other courts that are lower than that. So what's really interesting about this is that it's kind of, in a sense, one perspective that the Torah gives us of how to treat a newcomer to the community. Yitro kind of came out of nowhere. He was never part of the Jewish people. He was a priest for another religious group. And he comes to the nation. Okay, he's kind of important because he is Moshe's father-in-law. And the minute he gets there, he kind of starts giving orders. He says, you can't do this, you have to change this, you have to change that. And so I would love to hear your guys' perspectives. All of you are new on your campuses and new in your communities. So, I mean, you can imagine kind of there's always a hierarchy when you get to campus. So whether it's your Chabad rabbi or the president of an e-board or president of the Chabad board, whatever it is, you're not going to kind of get in there the first week and start giving commands, probably for a few reasons. One, because you don't know what you're talking about yet. And two, because it's just like chutzpah, you know, who would do that? So I would love to hear your perspectives in terms of how do you think we're supposed to read this and understand this? Like what is it teaching us? Is what's the lesson that we're supposed to take from it?
I was kind of thinking it was more along the lines of you shouldn't do something all by yourself. Like you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew. You should always like get help for the things you need.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's totally true. And it's probably as you guys get more involved in your communities, you're going to see that it's really tempting to kind of want to do everything by yourself, because if you're doing everything on your own, you know it'll get done. And if you're a perfectionist, for sure you're going to try your hardest to kind of make sure that everything gets done just by yourself. But delegating is like the key. And so one lesson for sure is you have to delegate. You can't do everything by yourself, for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking something similar. I was thinking more like everything in moderation. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
You want to maybe like flesh that out a little bit more?
I mean, it's similar to what she said. Like, you can't like take more than like what you can possibly do. Like, you're just not going to succeed at any of it.
Okay, so interesting. I totally agree with you, but maybe if I could just push back for a second. What Moshe was doing, he wasn't biting off more than he could chew. Meaning, he was actually spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, judging the Jewish people. So seemingly, he was able to do it. But Yitro said, no, you're actually not able to do it. So how would you respond to that? Because like Moshe thought he was doing it seemingly.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe like for him not to get tired of it, like in moderation, I guess.
Meaning that like when you start off doing something, right? Okay. So maybe what you're saying is that he started off, he was super passionate about it, and when you're passionate about something, you kind of can keep going endlessly, 24/7. You don't need any coffee. You're just doing great. But
yeah,
Yitro was saying, okay, Moshe, you're pretty new to this, but a few years, a few months, even down the road, you may get tired of this and not want to do it anymore. So let me give you a new system that'll make sure you don't get burnt out.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, cool, great. That's awesome. Jonathan or Daniel, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah. Yitro was saying was that it's not that you can't do it yourself necessarily. It's that it'd be more efficient, that you'd be able to teach more people at once or to judge more people at once. With the whole judicial system in place rather than just himself.
Okay, interesting. In other words, that not necessarily about getting burned out, nothing like that. More that you'll just be able to get more done faster.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting. Okay, cool. I like that. Jonathan, do you have any? And like, don't feel like you need to say something, but if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, so I see this sort of like from the perspective of Vitro. Like he saw what Moshe was doing, had his opinions on it, asked Moshe about it, inquired about it, and then after knowing about it, he came in and then offered his advice about what he should do, as opposed to just barging in and say like, I think you should do this. Like he sort of had this.
Okay, that's interesting, because the way that we explained it, I think the initial way that I read it, or that maybe Shalomit read it and I heard it, was that Yitro didn't take his time. He kind of he did almost barge in there. Okay, he had to watch for a second to see what was happening, but then he automatically jumped to criticism. What you're saying is that no, actually, the way you read the verses is that Yitro got there and he waited a little bit. He kind of tried to see what was going on, and only then did he say something after seeing how things worked for maybe a few days or a week or something. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Kind of like, wow. Okay, that wasn't the perspective that I had when I looked at it, but yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so I really think there's more than a grain of truth in everything that all of you said. I think what's really interesting is that there's so many different perspectives here. There's Yitro's perspective, there's Moshe's perspective, there's the newcomer's perspective, and there's the community's perspective. And there's so many different ways to read it. And your ways to read it, and kind of the perspective that you all should have maybe as newcomers to a community, is that I guess in theory, the most that you would have to learn from would be Yitro, but even Moshe, yeah, there's so much that each of you individually could learn from. I think what's most interesting is that probably one of the strongest takeaways, and interesting that I don't know if anyone focused too much on this, was how much Moshe was just willing to concede to what Yitro said. Like Moshe, if you look at the history of it a little bit, Moshe had been doing this for I mean, he got the Torah, and like, you know, he was like a pretty big guy. He like spoke to God directly. No one had ever done that before. And so who does Yitro think he is? I don't care if Yitro has been a priest for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Moshe like speaks to God one-on-one. So who does Yitro think he is to kind of question that? And I think that there's like an interesting dynamic here in that if you view Moshe as the communities that we're all going into now, and if you view Yitro as ourselves, that there's such a humility that Moshe had that is so key for communities to have, and that, yeah, if a community is doing something wrong, then really they should be open to hearing different ways that they could do things. But I think the takeaway is that most people aren't like that. Most people aren't Moshe, and most communities, unfortunately, kind of to a certain extent are stuck in their ways, in that they're not necessarily going to budge right away and change their things at the flip of a switch if you think that they should be doing something differently. So maybe the most important thing is to I guess everyone had a perspective. So maybe a fifth perspective would be that not everyone is Moshe, and not every community is going to change so quickly, and it could be even frustrating sometimes. You go to a new community and you see that things should be done differently, but they're not. And you have all these great ideas, and they're not listening to it. But I think maybe that the key is just patience, and maybe what we all can learn from Moshe is that, yeah, maybe sometimes you need humility and ability to just stop and say, okay, maybe I don't have all the answers, and maybe I won't necessarily barge into the presidents of the community's dorm room and say that I think we should be doing things like this, even if you're right, because sometimes you just need to be a little patient. But I think what everyone had to say was really good. Okay, maybe let's look at the second source. Does anyone want to volunteer to read that? Daniel, maybe you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, sure. Pirkei Avot 2:4. Hillel says, "Do not separate yourself from the congregation. Do not believe in yourself until the day of your death. Do not judge your fellow until you come to his place. Do not say something that you think cannot be heard, for in the end it will be heard. Do not say, when I will be available, I will study Torah, lest you never become available."
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel. So I think what's really interesting about this text is that I'm not so sure there's a way you can interpret it. I'd be open to hearing from all of you, but I'm not sure there's a way you can interpret it to say that it's talking about the community. Pretty sure this is strictly only talking about an individual. Don't do this, don't do that. You do not do this, you do not do that. So maybe let's focus on the first line, and then we'll kind of extend to the rest of it. When it says, "Do not separate yourself from the congregation," so I think it's a really important line. Some people are familiar with it in the group. Maybe some people aren't familiar with it. Al tifrosh min hatzibor is the Hebrew way of saying it. Why is this a value that Hillel says? Why is it the first of the value that he lists here, not to separate from the rest of the community? What do you guys think?
What's the Hebrew again?
Al tifrosh min hatzibor. Yeah. Right, meaning because as all of you are getting used to your new communities, I'm sure you see things that you agree with and things that you don't agree with. And so part of you may be kind of wanting to be like Yitro and just barging into the community and saying, no, you're doing this wrong. Let's change the way we're doing things. And okay, that's great. That's one way of looking at it. But on the other hand, Hillel is saying, don't separate yourself from the community. So is this kind of like no matter what, you should never separate yourself from the community? Is there ever a value in being separate? Why should you never? Why is it a value to never separate yourself from the community? And is it true? Is there never a time when you should separate yourself from the rest of the community?
I guess maybe it connects back to what we learned before. in which like Yitro said to Moshe, like, you need help doing this. Like, you can't do this all by yourself. So maybe it's sort of like that. Like, you need help sometimes. Like, you can't just live like solo. Like, you need a support system. So that's what the congregation is there for you, really.
In other words, that at the end of the day, you are your individual self, and there takes a lot that goes into a community, and it's not just you. And so it's better to be part of some kind of community that definitely has something to offer versus being by yourself, which for sure you yourself can't do everything alone. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I really think that could be true. Does anyone else have anything to say about that? Okay, great. So maybe we'll just go further a little bit. Right. So the first line: do not separate yourself from the rest of the congregation. So that's kind of like a standalone, right? Don't separate yourself from the rest of the community, like Shlomit said, maybe because you need the community at the end of the day. Even if you don't agree with everything going on, you need the other people there. But how do you think it ties in with the rest of the statements? Meaning, do not believe in yourself until the day of your death. Don't judge your fellow until you come into his place. Don't say something that you think cannot be heard, for in the end it will be heard. Is there a connection between meaning all these statements were made by one person, they were all made by Hillel? Maybe, Daniel, do you have any suggestion? Or if there's any common theme between these statements, why Hillel decided to say all of these statements together?
Sorry, I think I was muted there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely say it's something like the theme of, procrastination. Don't push things off to the very end. Sort of, if you don't wait until it's too late. Like, if you need help now, ask for help now. Don't wait until you can't. Like, even if you do get help, it won't help. Like, something like that. Just don't wait to the end.
Okay, and do you think all of that kind of had that same recurring theme? Not, I wonder, like maybe Racheli, I don't know, I think you kind of went out there for a second, but we're trying to figure out if there's a common theme between all the statements of Hillel. So maybe something that I could suggest, maybe to kind of start some discussion, is that someone actually that I was learning with us earlier in the earlier webinar said that maybe you can look at it as like a title. The first statement is a title for the rest of the statements. Don't separate yourself from the rest of the congregation. And how do you ensure that you don't separate yourself from the rest of the congregation? Well, you have to follow the following statements. You have to, don't believe in yourself until the day of your death. Maybe be a little humble. Don't judge another person until you come to his place, because you don't always know what you're talking about. Sometimes other people have a perspective that you don't have. Don't say something that you think cannot be heard. Lashon hara, that kind of could destroy a community. Speaking badly about other people. And don't say, when I will be available, I will study Torah, because maybe you'll never be available. Procrastination. Maybe procrastination is a bad way to kind of build a community, because if you push things off, things just will never happen. So I thought that was an interesting perspective, like that don't separate yourself from a community. And how do you make sure that you stay a part of the community? You have to do, you have to follow the rest of these things. Kind of be humble, judge other people, don't procrastinate. Do you guys have anything to maybe add to that? Okay, not a requirement. So I think just maybe to quickly summarize, we spent the first half on the sources. So the oh, okay, hey, are you okay? Okay, yeah. So just to summarize the two sources. So the first source is maybe a more of a communal standpoint, that the community should always be open to kind of accepting people, just like Moshe was completely accepting to Yitro, and everyone else had really interesting perspectives that I thought were an interesting takeaway as well. And the second source is more of this individual aspect, that don't separate yourself from the community. And the way you do that is maybe by being humble, maybe by not judging other people. And if you can kind of take that as a lesson for yourself, so that being part of the community is always a value. Perhaps that could maybe set yourself off on the right step as you're joining all of your new communities. So those were the sources that we wanted to use as a springboard for the following discussion. Well, okay, let me pose a question to those of you who are here. I'm not sure if Racheli is still here, so I think she's frozen. But okay, so maybe just Shlomit and Daniel. What are maybe each of you could spend 2 minutes just describing the Jewish things going on in your campus. Maybe Shlomit, we'll start with you. Just anything, Chabad, Hillel, what's going on there Jewishly?
Sure, yeah. I guess there's Chabad, obviously. They do like Friday night every week. They also do a Cafe Chabad, which is like free soup every like weekday, which is really cool.
Oh.
And then there's Hillel, which is like, it's like not so religious, which is like, I don't really like that, but it's still like, it's like a Jewish thing happening. And then what else? There's also like the Jewish fraternity, the Jewish sorority. That's like really it, but it's like a small community. So like that's really all they need.
How many Jews would you say are in the core community, either religious Jews or any Jews that are just involved?
Maybe like around 20, I think.
Okay, wow. And do you know how many Jews approximately are on your campus?
On the campus, my estimate would be like between 50 and 60.
Okay. Well, you're in McMaster, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure there's like a few hundred, maybe not 1,000.
Really? Okay.
I think those are the official estimates. We can talk more about that later.
Okay.
But that's really interesting.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And Daniel, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about the Jewish resources that are available on your campus.
Well, there's a Chabad house, so they have the services, minions if you need, stuff like that. The usual. They have events.
What's the usual?
Well, the usual, like the Shabbat, Friday night services, and then Saturday morning.
Okay, and it's not necessarily usual for a lot of campuses, so.
Just okay, the huge, whatever. We have a Hillel, so they do a lot of social events. They also have a Shabbat dinner every now and then. We have I guess strictly Arizona organization called Jack.
Okay.
Jewish Arizonians on campus. So they also do dinners and socials every now and then. We have the Jewish fraternity, API.
Okay.
And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, cool. And how many Jews would you say are actively involved on your campus?
Between all of
between Hillel, Jack, Chabad.
A lot.
Right.
I'd say like, if we have let's say at least 30 people go to each of those things every Friday, so that we're already looking at like about 100, like consistently. But it's probably a little bit more. Okay,
wow. And do you know how many Jews are supposed to be in ASU?
Oh, yeah, a little bit over 4,000.
Right. So it's kind of crazy the ratio, meaning it's incredible the amount of Jews that are involved, but that's 100 out of 4,000 is it's just like an interesting ratio. I mean, like compared to Shlomit's, like how many Jews did you say you think may be involved in the core community?
Like 20.
Right. So like 20, where there may only be 800 or 1,000 Jews in McMaster. Mm-hmm. So it's like an interesting ratio.
I mean, my numbers might be probably off for the weekly thing.
Okay.
But yeah, we have a solid group of people.
Right. Okay. Cool. Okay. So let me ask you guys a question. When you're getting involved in the community, how do you go about doing that? What's like the track to get involved? Do you just show up? Is there someone to talk to? Something to sign up for?
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
So for me, I guess it's more just like you show up. I guess the main thing is like you show up to shul and you go to like Shabbos lunches and whatnot. And there's like the Cafe Chabad, which you just show up for. I guess the like Friday night Chabad dinners you do have to sign up. but like very largely it's showing up.
Okay, cool. And so basically, as long as you show up there, and does someone welcome you, or how does it? You kind of just like show up there, or yeah.
Yeah, so like I knew a few people like going in, so I like kind of like searched for those people, and then like
Okay.
they would introduce me to like the bigger group.
Okay, got it. And Daniel, how about you? Do you just show up to places, or are there like what's like the track to getting involved?
Track, they sort of hammer out a bunch of Facebook events like every few days. They just remind you. Everybody's always posting about it. Um, so I guess most people RSVP, but obviously they plan for more because one person usually RSVPs and they bring like a group of 2 or 3 people with them.
Got it.
So it's just showing up really
Okay,
at
got
the
it.
end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, and Jonathan, maybe so you got I guess kicked off for a little bit. So we were just maybe spending like 30 seconds discussing what are all the Jewish opportunities on our campuses, and then what's the way to get involved? Like, what's the tracks to getting involved? Do you just show up? Do you sign up? So we were just maybe spending like 30 seconds discussing what are all the Jewish, and then what's the way to get involved? Like, what's the tracks to getting involved? Do you just show up? Do you sign up? We were just maybe spending like 30.
Oh, there's a loop of sound, isn't there?
Okay, go for it. Sorry, Raquel, I had to mute you. I'm not really sure. Like we could hear myself again. So okay, yeah, Jonathan.
Yeah. Okay. So there's Hillel and Chabad. Chabad basically just has Friday night dinners and lunches, and then occasionally certain events, and usually emails out about it. We have like a college email that like everybody's like very attentive to because like everything goes through there.
Okay, and so Chabad emails the whole student listserv?
No, just like people who have signed up or have been have signed up for something.
Okay, got it.
He has like 300 people in his listserv, I think.
Wow. Okay.
But like, yeah, he asks for RSVPs. He said that he hasn't actually been getting them recently, so like usually just people who show up and he kind of estimates.
Okay.
But he has certain events, he runs like Rosh Hashanah stuff, and then for the Hillel, they have a bunch of social things which I actually haven't been able to go to because like for schedule conflicts. But basically, they have like meetings throughout the week, like something called Jew Crew, Jews and Juice, and like Monday night meetings, and then obviously Friday night and Saturday day things. But that's usually for like the reform service on campus.
Okay, got it. And how many people would you say come to an average event, both in Hillel or Chabad?
So I can't speak for Hillel because I've never. I think like again.
Oh, okay, right.
For Chabad, Friday nights are usually close to like 15 to 30 people.
Okay, wow.
And like for Rosh Hashanah, for like minyanim and lunches, so like we just got a minyan, and then for lunch, I think around the same showed up for Friday night dinner. And then Shabbos lunch, it's pretty much just me or one or two.
Okay, wow. Okay, and Racheli, maybe if you're here.
I'm connected.
No problem. I totally understand. But maybe so everyone's just saying like a 30-second speaking about their campus Jewishly for about 30 seconds, kind of telling us what's there, Chabad, Hillel, etc. And maybe yeah. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so FIU kind of has like this Jewish problem that it has 2 campuses, and like I'd say like 70% of the Jews of FIU, they go to North Campus, which is next to like where all the Jews live, meaning like it's more like the religious Jews that just go home every day like me, but I go to both campuses. So really like all the Jewish events happen at South Campus, and the people from North Campus like already live at home and stuff, so they don't really care for it. But we have Chabad, Hillel. We have this like pro-Israel. It's not like a religious thing, but it's called Shalom FIU.
Okay.
They have like there's events like a few times a week. I haven't been to a Shabbat dinner yet. It's like very far from me, but Shabbats are really small there.
Wait, so how many people? How common is it to be on both campuses?
Not so common.
Okay. And
I mean, I want to go to both campuses, but because the North Campus is closer to me, but it's like the more quiet campus. Like people live on South Campus.
okay, got it. And so, wow, okay. And where's the Chabad?
Yeah, there's Chabad, Hillel. I mean, Hillel's like more active than Chabad, and there's also like Yehudi,
Which campus is Chabad and Hillel on?
South.
Okay. So that's where most of the students live.
No, because all the Jewish kids live at home. A lot of the Jewish kids live at
Okay.
home.
Got it. Okay. So how big would you say like the average Shabbat Friday night dinner is?
I want to say like 15. I haven't been, so that's what I hear.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Interesting. And do you have to sign up for it? Do you just show up? How does it?
I think you just show up.
Okay. Interesting.
But the weekly meetings for every single one, it's like at least like 50, 60 kids during the
Okay.
week.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's a pretty interesting ratio. That you like usually most campuses I feel like Friday night dinner, everyone comes to Friday night dinner at the very least, and then other things are kind of extra. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the way it works, I guess.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So maybe just to quickly summarize over the past 40 minutes. So this is what we've done. We spoke about sources that kind of dealt with both the communal aspects of that ideally the community should be accepting to people and open to hearing new things, but it's not always like that. That was the kind of the story with Yitro and Moshe. Then there's the statements of Hillel and Pirkei Avot, kind of always try to be part of the community because you can't be your own community. From there, we discussed what all of your different campus Jewish communities are like, and it's kind of interesting. I believe all of you have Hillel and Chabad, different Hillels and Chabads. Some of you have more than that. But it's kind of interesting to hear that similar things may be happening on each campus, that maybe the same amount of Jews are involved on each campus proportionally. Jonathan and Rachel, I don't think you were here for that, but so Daniel and Shlomit have like a very different Jewish population. I think ASU has probably 4 times as many Jews than McMaster, but they kind of have the same amount of Jewish involvement proportionally because Shlomit has probably like 20 Jews involved, whereas Daniel has like 4 times that. So it's kind of interesting. So now you've kind of been up until now we've been speaking about getting to know your campus, kind of what it's like as you acclimate to being part of the new Jewish community. Some closing thoughts, and then we'll spend the last few minutes of Kahal and what we're here to do. And clear up anything that any questions that anyone has. I want to leave you with the following: that you kind of get to campus and it's kind of there's a lot going on for a lot of you. There are just a lot of organizations. There's Chabad, there's Hillel. Even if there aren't a lot of students that are taking the opportunity to be involved in all of these organizations, even just to have Chabad and Hillel to have to choose between the two is a lot. And some of you even have more than that to choose from. But what a lot of students kind of begin to notice and point out is that as much as their community offers, there are a lot of gaps that isn't necessarily taken care of. One of those things is a more vibrant religious community, because a lot of you are, like some of you more than others, but some of you may be the only religious students on your campus or one of only a few. So as you kind of begin to acclimate to your campus, I want you to keep an open mind and realize that there's a lot that you can learn and a lot that you can gain from your community, but also, slowly but surely, start to look at the gaps in your community. What can you add? What can you bring to the table as a new Jewish leader on your campus? So I'm just going to leave you with that, and then maybe let's just spend some time talking about Kahal. So maybe I'll spend just a couple of minutes laying out again kind of the expectations of what Kahal is and what we're expecting from you, and then if any of you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me. So I'll start off by saying that first and foremost, the webinars are important, not necessarily because of what I have to say. I think what I have to say is a little important, but mostly the network and the friendships and the connections that you guys can all make with each other, that you all will make with each other. That's probably the most important part of college, and that you're all starting college together, even though you're all in different areas in the world, in the continent. One of you's in Arizona, one of you's in Canada, one of you's in the Northeast. You're kind of all across North America, but all of you are having similar experiences, and that you're all starting in a new Jewish community. So definitely, take advantage of each other, and feel free to reach out to each other through the Facebook group, or maybe start an email chain or something like that. So that's the first thing. The webinars are key. We have 3 webinars a semester. So we expect usually to come to at least 2 of them per semester. And then in terms of events, the way that we have pitched it up until now is that we expect you to run at least 2 events a semester. That may be changing only because for freshmen, we understand that it's a little bit hard to start running events the second you get there. Then on top of that, we have this annual Shabbaton that we told you about. It was supposed to be in November, but it's been pushed off to Martin Luther King weekend in January. We're going to be sending out emails to make sure that you can come. If you can't, I guess we'll speak about that then. Other than that, that's really it. You're going to be getting a follow-up email with some more information on how to run events if you're interested, on how to make sure you're doing as much as you can to stay involved in Kahal. But other than that, that's really the basics. Do any of you have any questions? Okay, great. Well, okay, so I guess we don't need to leave this much time to speak about it. Okay, great. So I guess we'll end it here for today. I wanted to thank you all for coming. This is pretty exciting. The first webinar ever of our freshman cohort. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for participating. And I want to wish you all a meaningful Yom Kippur. And we'll be in touch really soon.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a good day. Have a good day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.